Sweet.
We're on the air, ladies and gents. Welcome back, live from Daniel Stoll's car.
Yeah.
He is podcasting on the road. If that's
Yeah,
possible.
man.
Oh wait, crap. Shit.
That's dedication, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. I'm driving, actually. Sitting in my lap.
He is literally driving his car as we podcast. Bet you never saw that one coming. Now Austin.
Wait, did I go away?
Oh yeah, you're okay. Now your picture just froze up there for a second.
Oh,
you're like it was
should
kind
be
of funny.
okay.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Maybe that's just my face.
You're just your face. You're like, yeah. Stoll's frozen again. This is gonna be a fun podcast.
Oh, this is
Oh,
you. He's good for me.
I can hear you guys the whole time. It just froze for a little bit, I guess. So,
Okay, as long as we can all hear each other, that's good. And if we'll just keep
Yeah.
talking.
Yep, we're good. Let's roll.
All right. So, man, there was a lot of dying going on this season, guys. I mean, let's just
Yeah,
think
there
about
was.
this. Joffrey's dead. Tywin's dead. Shay's dead. Poor people are dead. The Hound's probably dead. Dead.
Yeah, but it's just been ridiculous. We could list off like 20 fairly major characters that got killed off this season. I'm actually curious as to how the numbers end up with compared to past seasons. If it's just because this one's freshest, or it like seriously was exponentially more deaths, like it feels like.
Well, it's definitely in the source material, so just a pretty crazy intense. That's what happens when you kill a Stark at a wedding, okay? Bad things follow. Everyone dies.
It's true. It's true.
Welcome back to the Cast Beyond the Wall, everybody. I'm Caleb Masters, and I'm joined, as always, by co-host live from your vehicle.
Daniel Stoll.
And my other friend, my other co-host, sir, introduce yourself.
Austin Lucari.
And we are presented by our partners at WeGotThisCovered.com. They're a great source for all your TV, movie, and gaming news. And they just kicked off a movie review podcast last week, guys. You should go check it out, called Cinema Assault. Go check that thing out. All right, guys, this is gonna be a quick round. This is gonna be a quick show, relatively speaking. So we don't have anything to analyze. We just wanna get a feel. We wanna kind of come down off the high, so to speak, of season 4 Game of Thrones. And I just want to say, ask you guys overall, what did you think of this season? How did it compare to others? How would you rank them? Thoughts, Austin Lucari.
For me, this season, it's not even close. I think it was a much bigger, more important season than any of the past 3. I'm trying to think of I want to say better than all 3 combined, but that is a pretty lofty statement. But I feel that way. I really do. I feel like everything really kind of hit the fan this season, and just everybody kind of got ground up in the whole storyline. So I'm pretty excited to see where it goes next. But overall, I think this is the best season so far. They're going to have a hard time trying to top this in the next couple seasons.
Well, it's funny. We always talk about topping it, but no one thought they could top the Red Wedding, right? I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, that was so brutal and shocking. How could we possibly top that? And here they did it again. So I have faith that we will see some crazy things in the years to come. Mr. Stoll, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that this is the best season that the show has ever. Out of all the 3 seasons, it's the best. I don't know if it's hard to say combined, but I do definitely think that this is the best one. And normally we have the typical episode 9 is like the big episode, but this season sort of delivered at least 5 of those episodes in one season, and I do think that it'll be very hard to top this. I know we've said that kind of thing before, but to have a season of this magnitude, to be able to produce that again, I think will be very difficult. I think, and we'll probably get into this in a little bit, I think the show is going to be very different after this season based on some of the things that happened throughout the show this season. So I think the show will change a lot, and I think it'll be a little bit more difficult to compare also after this season, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, well, I feel like so far all the storylines have been building off of each other to accumulate to kind of like it was all building to this season, and I really feel like, especially for like Tyrion and Arya and even Sansa, who's been in King's Landing for the last few seasons, it's a fresh start.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not
All
going to be
the
like
characters-
trying to necessarily top. They're not going to be trying to top those storylines. There'll be different stories.
Right.
Like,
Because, almost all the characters are different in different places now. Like Arya's going to be in a completely new place. Sansa's in a completely new place, not just physically, but like from where they're like emotionally, mentally, all these things. They're in different places. Stannis is in a new place now, a little bit. And he's still sort of like, I bet he's done something now.
he did something a little more noble. Yeah,
Right,
more
and then
selfless.
Dany's in a much different place than we're ever used to. And just all these characters have their arcs have gone so far. They're in much different places than when we started the season. So it'll just be much different, I think, than what we're used to. Which is going to be, I think it's going to be difficult to say anything can top this season, but it'll be probably be a little bit harder to compare in the future.
Yeah, right.
It's funny you talk about that. Like, I feel like this show in particular, most television shows like to cover how characters change and how they grow from season to season and even episode to episode. This show, I feel like, is more about how the world is changing and how the characters can or cannot adapt to it. And we'll talk about it a little bit probably a little bit later, but I think the theme really has been is Westeros is very much changing, and there are people that are very much part of the old world, live by the old rules, and those people are getting killed off kind of one by one. But the people that can recognize what's happening, the people that understand where things are going in Westeros, they're the ones that seem to be surviving. So it is kind of interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of interesting ideas and themes in Game of Thrones about survival and being able to outwit your competition, with your competition just being anything, really. I mean, because even people who are really smart and play the game well, like Tywin, can still go.
Yeah,
That's
but see,
right.
the thing is, Tywin, by my definition, lived by the old rules. He lived in the old Westeros, not the new one.
He did, but the reason he died wasn't because he didn't. He was smarter than the rules, but the reason he died was because he failed to cover his bases. So
Well, yeah, I would say he didn't adapt to the fact that his children were better than he gave them credit for, and he didn't adapt to that probably because I think he started to realize it. Like even in that scene, he starts giving Tyrion credit. It's the first time we ever see him give credit.
yeah, that was a bunch of
He didn't
crap, though.
adapt- Well, right, obviously, but I think that even he can't like if he were alive, he would not deny that he undervalued his children. I don't like. If he was being completely honest, I don't think he would admit that.
Yeah, no. I think if he's completely honest, he actually probably respects his kids a lot more than it appears. But
Right.
we didn't ever really get to see that side of him other than when he was talking to Arya. So, too
Right.
bad I didn't let his kids know he loved him. All right. So, my thoughts are this was a great season, epic season, eventful season. So, in that sense, there's no contest. There's no season of the show so far that has packed as many moments and action into the series as a whole. And I do think that this probably makes it the best season of the show, simply because it is paying off on all those arcs that we've been sitting through for 4 years. With a number of with the Lannister arc between Tyrion, Cersei, Jaime, and Tywin coming to an end, finding out Littlefinger's ploy in the game. We find out how he's actually been playing things since the beginning. Seeing Arya finally make it start heading towards Braavos. Number of things. So in that sense, I think it's hard to top that because this is really the climax and the completion of all these storylines that we've all been building up to. The War of the Five Kings is over, and this is what happens after you win the war. So I think in that sense it's the best. I still think season 3 is really close in terms of quality, really close actually. And I think that there were actually kind of different animals. This is really a different animal than any season so far because, like you said, the traditional Game of Thrones format is built to episode 9 and built to a single event. And I think that's a really great structure, and I think season 3 by far and away did that the best, more than any other season. of the first 3 seasons. So in that sense, this season lacked kind of the structure that I tend to like to see. Not to say that the show didn't pull it off like whatever it was doing. I mean, it was a runaway train essentially. There was no structure. It just was bam, bam, bam. So yeah, best season of the show. I certainly wouldn't say combined though, because I think season 3 was really close to this one. And honestly, structurally, season 1 even was a really great season. But season 1 was also telling a very different story. So, but no, I think this was definitely I think I agree with you guys. This is the best and the most eventful. So you just can't beat it. All the chickens came to roost this season. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We are counting down our top 10 moments of season 4. There was a lot going on this season, and we've gotten together. And this is we've all came to an agreement on these 10. So we're going to go ahead and hit on these really quickly and just kind of talk about why we think they deserve the spot they do and why they deserve a spot, and why you'll probably remember that down the road when Game of Thrones is over. There was a lot of awesome moments that just didn't quite make the cut, unfortunately. Some of my favorite moments didn't make the cut.
This was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I'll say that.
Dude, making countdowns is like freaking torture, especially when you love the material, like just in general,
Right.
like anytime. It's like I love making top 10 lists, like top 10 movie list every year. I hate it. I love it, but it's the hardest thing. When you've got 20 things that are awesome and you have to narrow it down to 10, you have to all of them deserve a spot.
Yes, they do.
So your children don't always make the top 10. When you got 20 kids, you have to pick 10, man. How do you do that?
You kill off 10 of them. That's the George R. R. Martin way.
That is the George R. R. Martin way.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and kick things off, starting with number 10. All right, I'll start things off. So our number 10 spot is Stannis arriving at the Wall. I think personally this was a huge moment for a number of reasons. One, we finally got to see Stannis do something noble and something for the good of the realm, so to speak, that we mentioned a couple episodes ago. He's really kind of coming in his own. He is now trying to he's basically trying to win the throne by fighting for the kingdom, not fighting for the throne to win the kingdom. So I think he's taking a different approach. I think is the right way to go about it. I think this was a really respectable move, and in a moment where I don't really like Stannis is a guy I don't really like at all. But I think this was a moment where I could definitely show a lot of respect, and this guy has a hope. Second reason I think this is a really big move is because we finally got to see the Wall come together with Stannis' storyline. 2 storylines that I think before were two of the less interesting storylines all of a sudden were, wow, there's so many creative possibilities.
Yeah, this is definitely a big moment, and it's interesting. We've said this several times, but in any other season, this is like probably a top 5, top 3 moment. But in this season, it hits number 10. But it is a huge moment, especially for Stannis. He's now being active. He's not just sitting in his castle and chilling and burning people alive. He's actually gone out and done something that's important, and it is going to be a huge impact. We even talked about earlier in the season about how if the White Walkers to succeed, like what's to say they don't just take over the North? Stannis just stopped all those theories from even coming true by showing up there. So huge moment. And then it's going to be hugely impactful in the future, I think, for Jon Snow and some other characters like that. So
yeah, I think I've really wanted to like Stannis for a long time, but he's made it very difficult on me. He's one of the characters in the show that's not content with the status quo right now for obvious reasons, which I think kind of naturally drives him to do bigger things than some of the other characters. He seems to be one of the more intelligent people and kind of sees things mostly for what they are. And I say that with a caveat of I think he's a little deceived by Melisandre, but I think he has his reasons for following her. He's kind of seen these visions and stuff, and he feels like he can't deny that. So to see him really kind of live up to what I kind of suspect his potential is, to really be kind of a leader of men, I think he can do that. And Davos clearly thinks that. Was really, really exciting. I think we've waited at least since Blackwater to kind of see this from him again. So it was cool to have him not just rotting away in a castle somewhere and actually doing something again.
Yeah, very excited to see him do something again. And something I don't think we actually got to hit on while we were doing the podcast is this is really we got to see him and Jon reunite, the kind of rekindle the Baratheon Stark relationship. And honestly, both these are two of the kind of characters who have been tossed aside from their families, getting together to fight for the realm. Jon Snow obviously being a bastard, and then oh my gosh, Stannis. Brain fart. And Stannis, being shafted by his brother after his brother took took the Seven Kingdoms. So, I mean, I do think it's really interesting. I'm very excited about that dynamic, about the dynamic of that. That is kind of, again, the way of the old. What brought this story here was the Starks and the Baratheon, the history of the Starks and the Baratheon. So it's exciting to see that still having a legacy.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, it has a legacy. He's also acknowledged how things are changing. The whole reason he's up there, I think, one, he knows about the wildlings. I believe he fears the White Walkers, where most of the people in Westeros don't give it any credence at all. I think that makes him a really exciting character.
Well,
and I'm
we'll
glad to see him come
we'll
in.
see how much he fears the White Walkers. I still have an inkling that it has more to do with Melisandre and the wildlings and the White Walkers. But
yeah, but you could make the argument that he's at least acknowledged the threat that's up there more so than anyone else.
Oh yes. Oh no, absolutely. Like he's at least ushering in the he's letting it known that the wall is important. Like that needs to be held and defended. Like obviously everyone in King's Landing thought it was a joke. They're all too busy trying to kill each other to set aside a moment to say, hey, maybe we should send some dudes. Even if we're fighting each other here, we should at least have some sort of line of defense.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So no, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and move on to number 9. And for our number 9, we went with a fight, a really freaking awesome fight. Brienne and the Hound, the fight. So this was really great. Really, really great to see two characters that we loved duke it out. And I really like it because we do love Brienne, and we know her. We know what her intent and what her desires are, and we know the Hound, and we know the same thing about him. The Hound we've kind of come around to love in a different sort of way, but it was very, very exciting to see two characters that you loved duking it out, where you didn't really want either of them to bite it, But at the end of the day, everyone's not going to be a winner.
Right. This was an awesome fight, and I will be quite honest. I would not have picked Brienne to win this fight, 2 weeks ago, but she did, and I don't know. It was just a really awesome moment, and then obviously it leads to a lot of other things, but it was just a really awesome fight. We don't get a lot of these fights in Game of Thrones, so it was really cool to have this moment. Two just big brute-like people going at it. It was really fun.
Yeah, it felt like something from like Highlander or something. Like just the setting and kind of how it all went down. It was just like a really exciting fight.
They're fighting, and the Hound grabs the Hound grabs a sword, and he's like, "There can only be one," and then he punches her.
It was so cool, and apparently not in the books. Just something that the show writers decided to add, and a really, really great, exciting, fun addition. And on top of that, Brienne now knows that Arya is safe for the most part, that she's at least still alive. It's kind of funny that Brienne had the opportunity. She could have said lots of things to help gain Arya's trust, and she didn't do any of them. Where was the pie? Hot pie's cake. Where was it at?
Oh, I have your friend. Your friend gave me this cake.
Oh,
yeah.
Could have been used. But
I got the sword that was forged from the same as your father's or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, there was all these things she could have done, and ultimately, I think Arya was kind of destined to go to Braavos anyway, so that's why it went that direction. But it was very fun to see. Very, very good fight. I like to see it like just go from a sword fight that was, fairly technical, and they were, kind of on point there for a while, to just beating each other to death with their fists. This kind of spiraled out of control very quickly.
Oh yeah, it got really just like straight up brawling there at the end. Again, HBO, I know you're working on Game of Thrones video games, but where the hell is the Game of Thrones fighting, Mortal Kombat style fighting
Dude,
game?
that would be awesome.
I want it. Or how about Super Smash Brothers Westeros or something like that? I mean, come on.
Yes.
I just want to see. There's enough characters there. You could throw in like 20 characters. Come on.
What do you call it? Mortal Thrones, Game of Combat.
Game of Combat
Wow.
X. Just cause. All right. Well, that was a great fight scene. Let's go ahead and move on to number 8. Number 8. This had to make the list somewhere, guys. It could have, this is easily something we could have just said, no, this is not top 10 material. But we would be lying to ourselves. You want to know why? Because the funniest freaking thing that happened all season happened in the first episode when the Hound wants his damn chicken, okay? He wants to eat every freaking chicken in the room. Someone gonna die for some, are you gonna die for some chickens?
I
Someone
mean,
is.
I mean, let's face it. Like, obviously, like you kind of said, this is not huge for the plot. This wasn't really huge for the characters. But everyone is going to remember that scene as one of the funniest moments in Game of Thrones, and I would argue that it is one of the most memorable, funny moments in Game of Thrones out of all the seasons.
Oh yeah.
So we have to throw it in this list. It is definitely something that we've seen tons of memes about already, and I'm sure we're going to find tons more in the future. So it's one of these moments that's just hilarious in the show. So
this whole scene, even when they're outside and they're talking about people who name their swords, and they're talking about what's a lami, and all these like just hilarious lines. You know, we got to know the Hound a little bit. I think we were starting to warm up with him in season 3, and then you see kind of at the end of season 3, he's taking care of Arya a little bit after her brother is beheaded and kind of all that stuff. But it wasn't until this point where I began to love the Hound. This whole scene outside the inn, and when he goes in and he declares his love for chickens, really, really like solidifies the Hound as an important, likable character, which we really needed. After what happened at the end of the previous season, we really needed something funny and lighthearted and something to look forward to, and I think we got that from this scene.
Well, and this really was the breakout storyline of the season because it was all filler. Like, really, none of this was really necessary, but it was so great. I looked forward to the Arya Hound scenes every week, and they said it was like the writers just sat down and said, "How can we have fun with this?" At that first scene, and like they kicked it off so well with the chicken and the lami and all that stuff.
Yeah, and as an extension of all of this, just all the interactions between Arya and the Hound,
right.
The Hound talks about Mirren Trant and just everything is just so good throughout the season.
Yeah, so I have to hand it to him though. I think it just speaks volumes about how well these characters are written. That one of the darkest, most brutal, everybody's a killer, your father's a killer, your brother's a killer, just almost borderline nihilistic, dark, depressing, like just fight to survive guy that we warmed up to, and we not only loved him, we actually thought that was kind of his dark sensibilities were kind of funny. So kudos to you, Game of Thrones. All right, that takes us into number 7. All right, guys. So the thing that I was hyping and most excited to see about this season comes in at number 7, which is my boy, Peter Baelish, Littlefinger. They revealed. You got to see his hand a little bit. We get to see that he poisoned Jon Arryn, which is the catalyst for the entire show. As in, the way that the show has played out is because of him, and when he's at least he has perpetuated and taken advantage of it. And then so we've gotten since holy crap, this guy really is playing the long game, and he's playing a game much bigger than anyone in King's Landing. And then 2, we were willing to see how far he was willing to go with that to stay ahead in the game and always have the upper hand when we found out that he was behind the poisoning of Joffrey. So this is a guy who we've always expected, not to trust him. He backstabs Ned Stark, and he's always hinted at having a bigger game. But this is where we got to see. This is the season where we got to see that Littlefinger really is playing the long game, and as far as series long characters, might just be he's in it to win it.
Yeah, it didn't seem as impactful to me as it should have been. Maybe it was just overshadowed by lots of other things, but I feel like the reveal of Littlefinger should have just really kind of hit me as being like this mastermind behind everything. But I guess it's been so hinted at through the past couple seasons that this is a dangerous person, this is someone we need to look out for, that while it was pretty amazing that he was able to orchestrate all these things, I don't think anybody really found it surprising. I think we were all pretty much prepared that he was capable of this kind of level of stuff. And when it was finally confirmed, we were like, wow, that's really cool, but it totally makes sense.
Right. It does make a lot of sense, but I do think it is a huge moment to show, like, we always knew that this, I think you're correct, we always could see that this is something that he could do or could pull off, but the fact that he actually did pull it off and nobody suspects him is pretty spectacular. So, yeah, I agree, it wasn't like a super surprising thing when you really start thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that it actually did happen, the fact that he actually does have all this, because part of what I think we were afraid of is that he could be doing this and we don't know about it. Now we really know about it, and yeah, it was definitely a huge moment, and it changes a lot of ways the show is going to continue to go forward for his character, Sansa's character, and many others.
Yeah, and I do have to say, just kudos to you, and that's what I'm saying. What it still wows me, and still mention it, is that this guy is a guy nobody suspects still. He has pulled over some of the biggest tricks on the entire freaking world, and nobody even knows that he could even be a suspect. So that's all I'm saying. And again, we went into detail about this on one of our past podcasts, and it just seemed like such a bigger moment for book readers than it was for show watchers. And I'm not sure if it's the difference in the media or if it's the fact that maybe people hyped it up, oh, Littlefinger's behind something or what, but I know almost every book reader I've talked to about the reveal of Littlefinger poisoning Jon Arryn was just like a holy, like, you're like, whoa, your mind explodes. Whereas almost all the show watchers, like Austin said, were just very, oh yeah, I mean, that was awesome, but I mean, I'm not surprised.
We talked about this on a previous podcast, so I don't want to get too far into it, but part of that too is I think Jon Arryn's death is a much bigger, like, they make a much bigger deal and talk about it a lot more in the book than they do in the show. It's sort of mentioned a couple of times in season 1, but then sort of gets brushed under the rug a little bit. So I think that might have played a role into that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting to see the disconnect between book reader reactions and
I will say that I think part of what plays into it is how great the actor has been in characterizing that character.
Oh yeah.
Where the way he delivers lines and things makes you feel like he's capable of anything.
Oh yeah, Aidan Gillen still every time that character's on the screen. Aidan Gillen, the actor, just chews the scenery every single time. I don't care if he's swapping accents every other scene. It's still awesome. And I'm just like, yes, keep talking. I want to hear more. It's just so mesmerizing almost. You're just like, dang, man, I don't know what it is about that guy. But well, we talked a lot. If you want to hear more about our my crush on Littlefinger. In depth, you can listen to pretty much the first 5 episodes of the season. But for now, it's time to move on to our number 6 spot. Coming in at number 6 is a moment that I think encapsulates this character's arc. And number 6 is when Arya kills Polliver. Okay, guys, this moment was really unnerving to me. This is where, and if you recall, back when we discussed this in episode 1, the way Arya, it's not that she kills Polliver. I mean, that's still pretty dark that she's killing him. It's the way that she does it. Right. The way she recites those lines. The last thing he said to Lamy, right as she kills him, and just that dead blank stare in her eyes, where I'm just like, wow, she is legitimately a psychopath. Like, this is not something we as an audience should be rooting for. I was unnerved, and I was like, wow. Powerful writing, incredible writing, and a really interesting way to take that character. But we should totally not be rooting for her because we are witnessing her soul just get sucked right out of her with these moments, and you're seeing just how dark and brutal she is becoming.
Yeah, definitely a huge moment. Arya has been my favorite character since about season 1. and she still is, even through all, even but she definitely is headed down a very dark path, and this is a big moment for her where she's killed before, but the way that this happens is so much darker than anything she's ever done before, and she is a little bit crazy.
The way I feel about this is, I didn't feel unnerved about it.
I didn't either, as much as Caleb it was anyway.
Man, I don't know.
It's similar to me, how I felt when Theon first started getting tortured. You were like, he's getting his, and that's kind of how I feel about Arya in this moment. Was she's getting her revenge? She's finally coming into her own to really take care of business for the Starks. So far, I don't think it's gotten to the point where, like it did with Theon, where I'm like, this is really bad now. This can stop. She hasn't.
Right. Yeah,
she's
hasn't
definitely
hit that
dark. She's definitely going that direction, but she hasn't gotten totally.
Yeah, she hasn't hit it from.
Oh no, and
we keep hinting at it. We keep hinting at it, like with her laughing when Lysa dies, and her leaving the Hound, like all this stuff. It's getting there,
up, man.
It's getting there, but it's still
getting there.
She's still likable.
Right. Oh yeah.
I still like Arya, and I love her. But what I'm saying is, I should not. I think as an audience, personal opinion is, yeah, I know it feels good to get revenge, but at what cost? Her soul is getting sacrificed at the price of us going, yeah, Stark's getting payback. But it's like, she's like 12, 13. A 13-year-old girl just killing people like that is not like, I don't know, that just really gets to me. I'm like, she is a product of the absolute product of more stress and circumstances.
I totally agree.
And
the way I felt about it,
I love her arc. I think it's great. I think it's great writing, and I love seeing it. But it's so sad and depressing to me, like to see such a hopeful character.
I think she was already broken, though. The way I feel about it is she was already broken. This is going to happen. She'd go one of two ways. She could curl up inside and just roll up into a ball and kind of just die, essentially, like the rest of the Starks, or she can stand up to what she feels are the injustices.
There's a big difference
and try to address them.
There's a big difference between trying to survive and taking just losing your soul.
I don't think it's just trying to survive. She's trying to
get vengeance, and she
wants vengeance.
And those things that I liked about her, like for instance, when she was with the Hound and the Hound beat the guy up, and she said, "You can't do that." That's what I like about her. So to see those qualities get crushed, though, is just so sad.
She's like
not there yet, though. She's killing. The way she feels and the way I feel about it is she's killing people who deserve it. Essentially.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. She feels like her vengeance is still just. There's justice in it. Like you said, you can't just beat the guy up on the side of the road. He doesn't deserve that. Pulliver deserves this. So and so deserves this. And
it's a very Ned Stark. It's a very black and white Ned Stark mentality.
There's an element of justice to it. If she doesn't feel it's just, she wouldn't do it.
But here's the thing: we only agree with her that it's just because we're on her side. What happens when she runs into somebody that doesn't deserve it, and that we know?
But she feels like it does. Right. Right.
So
when she kills Dany or something, and then we're like, shit.
Dany or Tyrion, anybody that we like.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Takes over a city and kills a bunch of people, and then Arya's like, well, that was not just. You killed all these people that I love. I'm going to kill you now.
Well, and that's where I think it's really good. At least my personal opinion is that's why I think as an audience, it's good. It's good for us to keep perspective that what she's doing, I don't think ultimately is good. Now, does that mean it feels good? It feels great because we know that she deserves some type of justice. She truly does. But for her to sacrifice those things, or at least to be chipped away, I do not think is something that's cheerworthy.
She's not the hero we deserve, but she's the hero we need right now.
Yes.
Thank you. But no, I love Arya. I loved her storyline. I thought this was masterful execution, and her pairing with the Hound and how that once again just continued to chip away at the girl that we know was phenomenal. I loved it. Just really, I mean, that's why it got to me so much, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead and moving on to the top 5. Let's get a drum roll ready, ladies and gentlemen. It's okay. I'm going to edit out and insert a sound clip right there. Number 5, guys. The top 10 was tough. Top 5 was near impossible. And
Yeah.
the fact, and I just want to go out of the way and say the fact that our number 5 is the death of Joffrey. At number 5,
Right.
it just goes on to show how phenomenal a season this was. That
I feel a
the
little
most
bad
hated
about this,
character,
actually.
the character we hated the most, we finally saw him get his comeuppance or whatever. He finally got killed off in a really kind of sad way, actually. Only number 5.
I feel a little bad about this one because it is what I wanted most in this world coming into this season, and we got it. We finally got it, and here it is. It's sitting at number 5. I didn't want anything else, just Joffrey to die. That's all I wanted.
Everybody
And it
wanted
happened.
this.
They gave it to me. It was great, and then we moved on to bigger and better things.
Right. Yeah. Everybody wanted this. This is the thing that every Game of Thrones fan always wanted when he entered the screen, and now that's actually happened. We're sort of like you said, like, okay, we accept it, and we kind of move on. And while it is hugely impactful for the world, for everything, there's just other things that happen that just have greater impacts in the end, at least on emotional levels for me. So, but yeah,
Well,
great moment. This is the moment where everyone's actually happy in the Game of Thrones world. Will only happen on very rare occurrences.
Well, and actually too, I do think that even though everyone was happy, I think there was a lot of disappointment too because of how he went out. It was very It was kind of anticlimactic in a sense. Not anticlimactic, but he died. He got assassinated by a party unrelated to anything. He didn't see it coming. When he died, he wasn't like. He didn't feel bad about the things he'd done, which is the thing I think everyone wanted him to like feel like, oh, now I'm hopeless. I made a bunch of mistakes. Now I'm getting, now it's coming back to haunt me. We didn't get that moment.
Right. Well, just like Oberyn, which we'll talk about later, but he had to have the mountain, say what he wanted to say. Then it really feels good. Joffrey doesn't have that moment, so it doesn't have the huge impact of him having, oh, you know what, I screwed up, I was a jerk, I deserve to die. Like, he doesn't have that moment. He just has oh my gosh, I'm dying. But which is how in reality how it happens a lot of times.
Well, no, I think it's a lot closer to reality. Instead of having that like get his comeuppance, I guess, quote unquote,
Right.
or his ghost come to haunt him moment where he realizes, oh crap, this is my mistake, or
Right.
we don't get that. We just see a teenage boy getting strangled, basically, which is not what I think what a lot of people wanted to see.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I did not mention the best part about this death was trying to figure out who did it. And while I believe the full extent of the conspiracy has not yet been revealed, I found it a lot of fun trying to figure it out. And,
It was fun.
And when it was finally revealed that Littlefinger and Elena Tyrell were behind it, it was pretty exciting through the whole thing. That's my favorite part about Game of Thrones is trying to figure out what's going to happen next. It's the reason I don't read the books. So this was to me bigger than the death was figuring out who hated him that much that was willing to kill him at his own wedding.
I would say it was very fun playing the whodunit game with you, Austin. It was very fun.
Oh my gosh, that first episode afterwards, Austin literally throwing at everybody except for Littlefinger, I'll point out. It was like, Cersei did it, Tywin did it, Oberyn did it. Oberyn studied poisons. I read about Oberyn online. He studied poisons. He totally did it. Every single character. Oh wait, Pycelle, he was a maester. He left.
Look. That could still happen. Okay. All right. Don't let that one go yet. I'm still hanging on to that.
Fair enough.
That's right, because remember, when we get to the last page of the last book, it's going to say Cersei did it, and then the end.
Yep. It's going to happen. Someone's going to read her diary at some point throughout this show, and we're going to find out.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I do want to, before we move on to number 4, I will say, outside of just the death of Joffrey, what was really great about that, the whole entire Purple Wedding sequence was phenomenal. Just the way they shot it. It took about half the episode. I thought the exchange between him and Tyrion there at the end was really great. I thought the very distasteful dueling of the dwarves and the Five Kings or whatever was really uncomfortable. I thought they just nailed it out of the park. And even the little exchanges like the ones between Tywin and Oberyn and all that stuff. All of it was great.
Yeah, it was a fantastic, 25 minutes of the season, and it was all the little character moments that they threw in there. The way they made it all work together was really great.
Yeah, and I want to say I think that episode, Lion the Rose, deserves a lot of credit for being absolutely outstanding, and it's just so easy to forget about how great that episode was after everything that came after it.
Everything else that happened, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, moving on to number 4. We're heading north, boys. It's getting a little cold. Number 4, when we found out what's up with the White Walkers. Whenever we saw the White Walker take the Craster baby all the way to the White Walker Council in the Fortress of Solitude, and then we found out that their leader was Darth Maul, and he was making more White Walker babies or White Walkers, and it was like, holy F, mind blown. That was not in the book, so obviously book readers were like, whoa, what's going on? And it was just also really great because the whole White Walker storyline is obviously a series-long story that we just hardly get anything, any info on ever. So it was really great to finally get to see, hey, wait, these guys are civilized, they're society, and I think it's definitely going to play into the storylines yet to come.
Yeah, huge moment where we realize a little bit more about the White Walkers that we had no idea. They're somewhat civilized, at least what it appears to be. They can turn. This is how they expand as they turn baby. These Craster boys into White Walkers or whatever, and yeah, it just definitely, like you said, a big moment that we get a little piece of them every, once, maybe twice every season. And this was our moment for this season, and it was very revealing, even though we don't know exactly what it means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the biggest thing was that we find out that they're like an organized society, and that they're capable of planning and of some sort of strategy, probably. We get the hints of all those things, and rather than just being mindless zombies as they kind of appeared in the past a little bit,
right?
This provides like a real sense of danger for Westeros. It's the first time we kind of get confirmation that they're not just coming to life and just kind of running rampant. They're preparing.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
And honestly, if you think about it, like everything they've done so far has actually probably been all part of a bigger plan for them. The reason they were dormant for a long time, there's probably some really interesting stuff there that we haven't quite found out about yet. So yeah, just a great, powerful moment. Shocking. The only question I have is, where the heck do all those White Walkers sit in the Fortress of Solitude? Did you notice how big and open that thing was? They just had that big rock altar in the middle. It's like, what do you guys sit? Do you guys stand all the time? Is it like part of like the zombie duties? You just stand around?
They just hang out in the empty frozen field. That's all they do.
That's right. Yeah. Well. All right. Well, we just need to make sure that the next Left 4 Dead game has a White Walker Fortress map, because I want to play that thing.
That'd be so awesome.
So great. All right. Even bigger and harder than our top 5 was our top 3. These 3 moments, I think, are so close in terms of just overall impact.
Yeah, I believe on our sort of personal list, these 3 moments were all different for all 3 of us, I believe.
No, or at least, they weren't. Number 1 was the same for 2 of us.
For 2 of us, but then the other 2 were switched around. Like, none of us agreed.
I think we all had these in our top 3, but
they were in different orders.
They were in different orders for all 3 of us, right?
So it was a really tough pick, and I think these are all the moments we mentioned so far are really great, and I still think are going to be series-worthy moments. But I think these top 3, especially, more so than other moments from other seasons, are going to be moments. They're going to be Red Wedding, they're going to be Blackwater. Yeah. They're going to be Dead Ned. The season is so. Starting out at number 3 is Tyrion's trial, and especially his speech at the end of the trial. And this is kind of a storyline that the show has been building to all along, as he has been persecuted about being a dwarf, and how his father has used him as a tool and crapped all over him. Let it all go. And this is just everything he ever said and did, even though he was doing it for the right reasons, and it was actually, clearly helping King's Landing as he saved Blackwater. All those people he stepped on along the way came back to bite him. And I thought it was really powerful and really sad to see all the good he did literally just fall apart right in front of his eyes, really.
Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, Yeah, it's just his. I think we said it when we did the episode. That speech is like that's going to be his Emmy clip. Like it's just fantastic. Just acting and the way that he delivers that, you really feel connected to him more, at least for me, more so than I ever had been. And you feel so bad for him because, like you said, that he's the one character or one of the very few characters that is really trying hard to live in this world, but yet still do really. He's trying to survive, but he's still trying to do the best that he can for the world and the people that live in it. And we all this is the last thing that he deserves, and so you really are just with him as he's delivering that speech. Like, yes, I wish he had poisoned you guys too because he deserves more than this. So.
You want to talk about things that we were, how we didn't get to see Joffrey have. Sorry. It was really emotionally resonating to actually hear Tyrion say all those terrible things to those people. Like, I would poison every single last one of you, and I wished I killed Joffrey. Like, those are things like, if he had died, at least he got to say that when he died. That was like, yeah, you're like, yes, finally you're saying that you're going to say those things, and those are the types of moments that we're talking about that Joffrey didn't get or Oberyn didn't get. So it's really great that we did get to see that with Tyrion, and I do think Peter Dinklage is definitely going to be, he always is going to be in talks for the Best Emmy this year, and this is going to be the scene that makes his demo real, and I do think that this whole sequence again overall is one of the most iconic, most memorable of the entire long-running series, and it really is Tyrion.
I feel like this wasn't my top choice, but I feel like as the series goes on and certain very gaping, painful wounds heal, this scene in particular will probably be amongst the top 5 scenes of the entire series. Everything from not even just the speech obviously amazing, but the way he calls out Cersei and Joffrey for being a bastard son, and just everything about it, I think will make it up there with the beheading of Ned, in the really really big impactful moments of the show. Within the context of this season, I don't think it was the top one. But in the context of the series, oddly enough, I do think it's up there and bigger probably than the ones we have ranked above it.
Well, and it was just payoff. Tyrion finally sticking up for himself. His whole life he's been crapped on like this, and it was 4 seasons of us seeing it, and his own family doing this to him was the most tragic part. So I think but having this moment and this trial was one of those moments that the show been building to since it started. All right, well, that takes us to number 2. Also a very, very tough pick, very close call, and as we kind of made our list, and that is Tyrion confronting Tywin. And yes, this is a scene that, as I just mentioned, is one that has been building the whole series long. Although ever since Tywin and Tyrion sat down in Tywin's tent in season 1, and Tywin sent him to be the Hand of the King, and then he was a great Hand of the King. And he actually did his family honor, he did the city honor, and he actually was making it a better place, and he was doing things rather well. And then Tywin comes in, craps all over him, and that tension and honestly, Tyrion actually trying to resolve that tension early on, saying, okay, you know what, I am upset about this, but whatever. Here's what I want, and we'll just call it good, And he's like, nope, you won't do that because I'm your father, and I'll tell you so. And then it's been building and building and building until Tyrion realizes this guy hates my guts. He really does want me to die. Really does want me dead, and he will stop at nothing until I am out of the way. And it's kind of hard. It's your own dad. I mean, come on.
And the speed of Tywin's descent here in this last episode was amazing. You see, the scene with Cersei when she's like, Dad, your grandson is a product of incest, completely illegitimate as king. Your legacy is entirely a fraud. All your children are failures and freaks and just ultimately terrible people. So Tywin's dealing with that, and then he's sitting on the toilet
Yeah.
when Tyrion comes in and ultimately murders him. It happens so fast. I mean, the man was on top of the world, and everything just crumbles. So not only does he dies knowing that his legacy is basically destroyed.
Which is the one thing that he wanted more than anything else.
Right.
Right. It was all about the legacy, which is really fun. And I as much as typically I love seeing Tywin put Cersei in her place, I kind of like that she called him on all that. I really like that she called him out and said, you know what? You don't love any of us. You just love the idea of family. You don't know any of us. If you knew us, you knew me and Jamie were together. Me and Jamie have been having sex for years. If he had really known Tyrion, he would have freaking realized, holy crap, Tyrion's he's where the real legacy lies. But he didn't. He was too wrapped up in the idea, and in the process, devalued his children, and they finally came back to bite him in the butt. And I just thought it was really powerful face-off that Tywin still tried to act like he had the upper hand, even when he was on the toilet. He tried to play, you're a Lannister, all the cards he typically plays. He says,
got with his pants down.
He literally got with his pants down.
Literally, yeah.
And this is a moment that had been a long time building. I was glad to see it come across. I'm glad he still died on the toilet.
Yeah. I think it's huge. It's hugely impactful for Tyrion's character. I think this event changes his life forever, obviously, and this event and this trial and everything that's happened has just altered the rest of his life forever. It will never ever be the same.
Well, in a sense, Tyrion is a new man. He's getting a new start in a new place, wherever that may be. He now has to build a name for himself. He doesn't have his money and his family to rely on.
Without the protection of being a Lannister. Being a dwarf without being a Lannister is going to be very tough.
It's going to be very tough. Yeah. And I'll bet at the same time, the chains are gone too, though. No longer is he bound to what Tywin Lannister says. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause it was always what father wanted, And now he doesn't have to worry about that. So he is getting a fresh start. And with his father dead, I mean, who's to say how far up do you think Tyrion can go now that he doesn't have to worry about family baggage, I guess?
Oh, how great it would be if he ends up running the Iron Bank somehow. It'd be so awesome.
That'd be pretty sweet.
He'd own all his own family's debts.
Now that would be epic. Holy crap. Well, yes. And I'm very excited just in general to see Varys and Tyrion on the road together.
It's going to be great.
Movie. All right, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't figured it out already, drum roll, please. Yeah. Okay. Oberyn versus the Mountain. I mean, this was a fight that they really, in just 7 episodes, they presented a character that we fell in love with, that we got behind, and he was a character that you could believe in. Really and truly, he was a character who had authority and power, who had a voice, had vengeance. He was going to give the Lannisters what they deserve. He was going to get vengeance on the Lannisters, something we wanted to see. He was going to get vengeance for his family because we'd fallen in love with this guy. We wanted to see that too. And it was like a beacon of hope we could all rally around to start righting injustices. And so much lied in this fight, and the build-up was phenomenal, and the actual fight itself was just so emotionally charged, so crazy, and the show just knocked it out of the park and then some. I mean, this was just outstanding direction, outstanding writing. Pedro Pascal probably deserves an Emmy nomination, probably won't get one, but I mean, for selling that character and delivering that speed, just something else. I mean, this is easily, totally justified top pick.
Yeah, this is my. It was just. This is going to be we will never ever forget this moment ever. The visual, the just the scream of when he actually dies, and just the fight itself. Like you said, this was the character that in just 7 episodes everybody got behind. This was the guy that was going to save Tyrion. This was the guy that was going to be our hope for Westeros, and obviously he failed at that, but just this moment was just so huge and something we will remember forever.
And I completely agree. I um, the thing about it is after Ned's beheading, I felt and going through the course of these 4 seasons, I felt like I understood Game of Thrones logic. I felt like I had a good grasp on who lives and who dies, and kind of the motivations behind how you kill each character. And I didn't, apparently, because I had no concept that Oberyn could die here. It wasn't even a possibility for me. And so when it happens, it's just completely insane. It's just crazy that this happened. And it just goes to show, and the reason this is the top pick for me was it's a reminder about the type of show that it is. I think we got, through the course of this season, and even the past couple seasons, really a little complacent. And maybe it's because for me the Red Wedding didn't have the impact that it did for a lot of people, but I felt like this is the first time I've been punched in the gut since Ned, and it was a very painful reminder about the world of Westeros and kind of what it is.
It really did hurt too. Even going into it knowing what to happen, but they just sold it so well. They executed it flawlessly with the acting and the writing of the build-up of that character, and it was really, really sad to see him go. I mean, it hurt. It really did. I was legitimately sad. Austin was like a nihilist for like 2 weeks, man, before he started to come around a little bit.
It was the most emotional death for me, I think, in some ways, at least. So.
Oh yeah. I do think in a way, it is the
only one that compares.
The death I was the most upset about since Ned. I could say that. So, well, that about wraps up our top 10 moments of the season. What did you guys think of the moments throughout season 4 of Game of Thrones? We're about to list off some personal picks, but if you want to go ahead and look us up on Facebook.com/CastBeyondTheWall, you can go ahead and comment and let us know, hey, what were your top 5 moments, your top 10 moments, or what was something that we didn't put in there that totally should have been in the top 10? You can let us know via Twitter at cast_beyond_GOT. And just talk to us. Let us know. Message us. We want to hear what you guys have to think, and we will, even though we might not have a podcast here for a little while, we will let the world know what the Game of Thrones fans have to say. But before we wrap this conversation up for the season, I think it was safe to say this was one of the most packed out seasons. As we've already mentioned, this is one of the most packed out seasons of the show so far. Meaning there were a lot of really, truly great moments that just didn't make the cut. And for
there's some huge things that we didn't even make this list. So
right. Well, and the thing is, for each of us, those things are a little different. So we're all going to take turns and quickly go through, 5 things that each of us felt was noteworthy that just didn't quite make our top 10 list. We'll go ahead. We'll all take turns. Start with Austin. What was one of your personal picks for top 10?
The first one I have is I'm calling it the Hodor Megazord. It's the couple of times we've seen where Bran kind of discovers his powers and what he's capable of doing, and decides to warg into Hodor, and not just to calm him like we saw last season, but to use him as a weapon and to use him as his legs and his arms and an avatar, I guess you could say, of Bran. We see him at Craster's Keep kill some people, and we see him a little bit later at the Weirwood Tree kill some people. So it was really, really cool to kind of see that happen and what powers Bran has and what he's actually capable of. So.
All right, awesome. Seeing all the Hodoring going on, he goes in like epic Hodor smash mode was pretty great. Mr. Stoll, what was one pick that yours didn't make the cut this week?
For me, again, my favorite character being Arya was the way that she leaves the Hound. First off, just basically he begs for death and she does not give it to him because it is for her he does not deserve that kind of mercy. He deserves to suffer in his death, which is again huge for her character. But then the fact that she's headed to Braavos, I am super stoked to see where her story is headed. I think that even back all the way back in season 1, they started hinting at Bravos with Sirio, her her sword teacher, and I just can't wait to see where this is headed. So that was a big moment for me just because she's my favorite character, and I'm so ready to see her story unfold.
Awesome. Well, one of my top picks was again wrapping up a storyline all the way back from season 1 was the Daenerys and Jorah split, breakup, so to speak. The power pseudo romance is over. I mean, he's no longer stuck in the friend zone. He's just not even in the zone. He's just out. Totally. And it was really sad for me because I really do believe that he loves her and he has fought for her. And the only reason she is where she is today is because she's had Jorah at her side all along the fight. And in many ways, I feel like this is going to be the beginning of her undoing if she's not too careful. But seeing Jorah and Dany split is really sad. I'm sad to see that dynamic gone because I really did think, especially in the earlier seasons 1 and 2, it was one of the more interesting character dynamics and relationships that felt more legitimate than a lot of the characters we've come to see in Westeros. So very sad that my man Jorah, loved her. He's out for getting caught with his pants down. I guess he had it coming. Should have been a little honest. All right, Austin, what's another one for you?
Next one for me is the couple of scenes that help introduce us to Oberyn. The first one where you kind of see him in the brothel. These all kind of take place in the brothel, I guess. And he hears some Lannisters in the next room. And he goes in there, at least Lannister guards, and just stabs him in the hand. You kind of see there the type of person you're dealing with. So it was really exciting. This is a person that could be our champion, in the same way that he was Tyrion's champion. And then finally, the scene that I think was probably the most memorable ones for him, the scene where he's in the brothel, again, big surprise, and he's laying there, he says, "I see this, and it delights me, and I see this, and it delights me." It was one of the best kind of running jokes that we had, I think, on the podcast, and one of the funniest moments of the show this season.
Definitely a really great little character moment. He doesn't choose sides. He fights for love. He loves it. He loves it all. He limits himself. All right, Mr. Stoll, what is another one of your picks for this year?
For me, I think it's not so much a moment. It's just where the story's headed, and it's with Sansa. I think that her character changes a whole lot this season, and she has started becoming really awesome, and she's going to make some moves that she's never been active in making before. And I, again, am super excited just to see where her story is headed and some of the moves that maybe she's been playing, and maybe even try to play the game at Littlefinger's level, which is insane to think about. So. Well,
she'll play Littlefinger. I don't think she's gonna play the game through Littlefinger. I don't think she's.
If she plays Littlefinger, that's pretty huge. So.
Oh no, it's pretty big, very big. He is kind of like probably one of the most dangerous men in Westeros. So.
Right.
All right, one of my moments I thought that it'd make it was all the build up with Oberyn and everything, but I thought a moment I loved, it was just a big hopeful moment where we were just like yes, was when Oberyn declares himself Tyrion's champion. Tyrion was so hopeless and without any lead on who to find, and then Oberyn shows up and has this really great I don't know which if you want to say a memory he has this great monologue about his history with the Lannister family and how he actually met Tyrion when he was a baby, and how they kind of reminisced in a sense about the bloody history of his family, how his sisters always kind of hated him. And I thought it was just a really powerful moment, one of the best scenes in the whole season, because it was just so well executed. And the dark dungeon, the torch, and Pedro Pascal just sold it. And then Tyrion's line about if you want justice, you're in the wrong place. And then all of a sudden he's like, but no, I am in the right place. It was like, it was such an just wow moment that really just spoke volume. I just, again, spoke so loudly about how awesome that character is. Austin, what's your next one?
The next one I got I have, not I got, is a really short, simple scene with Brienne and Podrick and Hot Pie, where Hot Pie reminisces about the benefits and all the subtleties of making a proper gravy. It was just really kind of a hilarious scene where we got to see just something really dumb in the world of Westeros, and that there's still people out there that are separate from all the conflict and all the dumb pettiness that's going on, that just enjoying their lives and just loving themselves some gravy.
Gotta love the gravy. Good on you, Hot Pie. All right, Stoll, what is your next one?
My next one is going to be. I'm just going to pick a specific scene. It's the Jaime and Tyrion when they're talking about Tyrion's whole little beetle speech, where they talk about the smashing of the beetles and the whole sort of psychology behind that. And there's never really an answer. I think that's a little great moment we get with the two of them, and really all the moments that we get with the two of them this season. You really get to see. We always heard about how much they loved each other and how much they cared about each other and how they were the two Lannisters that really actually got along. And we really get to see that this season. We have a lot of great character moments from the two of them. So just all those little moments where you really see that they really do care about each other and they really are brothers and they love each other, and in the end they want what's best for each other. So,
it was all just the writers making fun of George R. R. Martin, being like, "Why the heck are you killing everyone, man?" That was what's going on right there. So my next moment is definitely Sir Pounce, guys. He's the one you got to look out for. That cat is actually pulling the strings. Seriously. Marjorie? No. Tywin? No. Littlefinger? Nah. Sir Pounce. You look at that cow. He's waiting to pounce. I mean, come on. I just love the inclusion of what is clearly Game of Thrones' biggest threat. He's going to take down Tommen. He's going to control Tommen using his cuteness, the cute kittenness, and he will use Tommen to bring down the entire kingdom so that White Walkers can come take over. And then White Walkers, they don't hate animals; they like their animals. They're gonna negotiate with Sir Pounce, and then he's gonna rule over all of Westeros. You see what's going on, guys?
I think you got it.
It was a masterful performance by the actor.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing more from him next season.
I think Sir Pounce is going to be a huge player next season, and I can't wait. You heard it here first, folks. Sir Pounce is going to win Game of Thrones, and we will be talking about Sir Pounce next season. All right, Austin, what is your next moment?
Oh God. All right. One of the jokes that we kept probably overusing throughout the podcast, when Jon Snow says before the entire Night's Watch, explains to them the real threat that they're dealing with here, that they, there's a wildling army of 100,000 people, and they have giants, and then you have that bastard up there at the table going, giants. Like, he just doesn't believe it at all. That was a really kind of funny moment for us, especially given episode 9, where we kind of see him finally see the giants for himself and just basically piss himself and go run and hide. So it was a pretty fun scene, and one that was a lot of fun to refer back to throughout the season.
Podcast. Such a weird joke. I love it. Stoll, what is your next pick?
My next one is going to be Craster's Keep, actually. Something that wasn't in the books. It was a whole lot of fun for me to see, especially the moment where Jon Snow stabs what's-his-name right through the face.
The legend! Yeah. He was a legend of the alley! Come on, man. It was Carl Tanner drinking from the skull of Geoff Mormont. How can you forget his name, man? It's Carl, the legend of the alley, Tanner.
Carl. I keep picturing him as the guy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force now.
Oh my gosh! I always hear when he says, "I am Carl," and then I hear Carl. Yeah, that kills people.
But yeah, that whole scene was just awesome. There's a lot of great things that happened there. So just the whole sort of battle scene at Craster's Keep.
It was a great battle that ended in a bloody fatality, Mortal Kombat style.
Fatality.
All right, well, that brings me to my next point, which is the swordplay between Jaime and Bronn. Tons of fun. Didn't really amount to a whole lot, but the best moment was when they were duking it out. Jaime's like, I got the upper hand, and then Bronn rips his golden hand off of his arm, and then pimp slaps him with it across the face, and you're like, what? He just pimp slapped Jaime Lannister with a golden hand, the hand of Midas.
His own hand.
That's Bronn.
What are you gonna do when someone come up to you and rip off your own hand and hit you in the face with it? How do you answer that? You can't. That's the ultimate right there. That's the trump card.
I mean, you can't, especially when you're like the freaking.
When it's a gold hand of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Midas touch, man. All right, Austin. What is your next pick?
Last pick for my personal picks is the Dany kind of approaching Marine, specifically the fight with Dario and the guy who kind of pisses there outside the wall.
Yeah.
Which, strangely enough, it has come to light that if you translate what that guy said into English, it isn't what my Sandy actually says, but he actually says, "Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries." So that is legit. That totally happened. They threw that in there.
Oh my
gosh!
gosh!
A funny little Easter egg.
That's awesome.
I love
and then
that
coupled
crap,
with
man.
that, Dany launching all the kind of broken chains into the city. This is a brilliant strategic move.
That was pretty much. That was like her most epic moment of the season, really. Where you're just like,
Right.
dang.
Right.
Right. Well, Stoll, what is your last pick for this week?
My last pick is the fact that Daenerys. Sorry. My last pick is basically that Varys is like, you know what? I'm gonna peace out on King's Landing and I'm gonna head somewhere else. You see him turn around, the bells start ringing. He's like, you know what? This place is not for me. I'm out. And just gets on the boat and is gonna go hang out with Tyrion. I think that moment was kind of awesome. And obviously, it leads to some exciting things that are going to be happening next season. So,
Dude, I just want a spin-off show, Tyrion and Varys versus the world. Okay, seriously. All right, yeah. I thought that was a great moment myself. My last one, I'm going to end on a little more of a serious note, and that is the death of Shay. Okay, now, it's definitely, I keep it separate from the death of Tywin because those are two different facets of Tyrion's rage. You know, despite all his rage, he's still just a rat in a cage. You know? Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So my thing is that he really his weak spots have been family and Tywin, and his love to Shay, especially, and to see the way that whole story played out was tragic. And even though I never really bought the actress Shay doing her work, it still meant a whole lot when he had to kill her, because I always did believe truly that he loved her, everything. And to see that she betrayed him, and then the way that scene went down, where he was walking in for Tywin, and then she just happened to be there, and she's like, "My lion," and the look on his face is just like,
it's a split-second decision.
Yeah, he just snaps. He literally just snaps, and he's like,
With the Tywin thing, it was definitely like, he definitely thought about it before, but then he sees her, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you too. Like,
yeah, well, right. Well, I mean, I think it wasn't like it wasn't conscious. He just like saw her, and like that was his reaction, because his immediate reaction to the fact that he killed her was, oh, what? I mean, it took him a second to realize that he just killed her. He's like, I'm sorry, you know. And I felt so bad because because I don't think he really did want to kill her, but it was a reaction, and he felt bad about it. Like, because I think he really did love her, because those wounds. That betrayal goes so deeply into him, though. Like that's what he had to do in that, like emotionally in that moment. That's what he would do. That's what he had to do.
But not only that, he had to for his own survival. He couldn't leave her alive.
Oh no. And honestly, I think the fact that he killed her also played in the fact that he killed Tywin. I don't know if he was actually going in there to straight up kill Tywin. I really, honestly don't know. But after that, after he was emotionally wrecked from her, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Nuts. But yeah. So the death of Shay was another one of those storylines that it finally paid off after seasons of build up, and I was glad to see the way they executed that. But yeah, that about wraps it up, guys. there was a ton of things outside of even our personal picks that make the list, and here we're just going to rattle them off really quickly. Grey Worm, Melisandre romance, question mark. How does a man without a penis fall in love with a woman? 2, Jaime gives Oathkeeper to Brienne, touching. The Hound opens up. Didn't see that coming. Giants on mammoths. Need I say more? Egret's death. The fact that didn't get in our top, even getting our personal picks, might tell you something. The battle at the wall in general was pretty epic, and I think it was really well executed. But might not have the greatest impression with all of us. Stannis goes to the Iron Bank. Great scene. Stannis burns people with a stake. Bran makes it to the Weirwood tree, and Jojen dies. Austin's Greyjoy action. We didn't even mention Theon or Ramsay at all, or that Mace Tyrell showed up for a few episodes. We didn't quite get around to Dany locking up her dragons. The awesome, hilarious, and on point one small council meeting scene we got this season between Mace, Tywin, Varys, Oberyn, and Pycelle. And honestly, we have to give Cersei some credit. At least mention her. She played her cards very well and really rose in the ranks this season. And I got to give her a high five and at least say that hey, her storyline this season was a lot of.
It was great.
She is head of the family now. So
she's the queen. She's the queen bee. I hate her guts, but kudos to her. So yeah, guys, that'll about wrap up our talk of season 4. Now we cannot wait to come back and talk Game of Thrones again next year when season 5 begins. We might have some surprise podcast episodes that pop up here and there throughout the year. Might go back and review a past season. Might be getting an interview with one of the castmates. There's a lot of great content, a lot of great things that we hope are going to come down the pipe throughout the year to keep you guys interested in the conversation of Game of Thrones until it comes back next spring. We just want to say thank you so much to everyone and all our listeners who have tuned in. We would not be doing this podcast if it wasn't for your listening ears. And we love that you guys are talking and liking us on Facebook, subscribing on our iTunes. Please do look us up on iTunes. We do appreciate all the support you guys have given us, and we cannot wait to continue the conversation through the year and into Season 5. If you want to keep track of us, you can always check us out on Facebook, or you can subscribe to iTunes and follow us on Twitter, or you can just watch We Got This Covered's website for our next post. All right, gents, anything you'd like to say before we wrap this puppy up?
It's been a great season. I've had a wonderful time and a blast hanging out and talking with you guys, and I cannot wait. I literally can't. This is going to be such a long 40 weeks.
At least.
Until it's going to be such a long time to talk to you guys again about this kind of. I mean, obviously I can talk to you guys about it, but be able to talk about new stuff next season, it's going to be. I can't wait for it.
It's going to be a long winter.
Yes.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Time. And I want to go ahead and thank all of our guest hosts we had on this season. We had a number of people come in and out, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you, Ben, Jessica, Dalton, Ryan, Mark, anyone else I failed to mention. Thank you for everyone for hopping on, and again, hopefully we can continue to have more guests on next season. And I do want to thank our partner at We Got This Covered for presenting us through their really excellent website. Austin, send us off, shall you?
Oh, so much pressure.
On the spot, make something up.
I'm really happy. Really excited to look forward to next season. Hopefully I'll be more interesting and better podcaster then.
Oh, Austin's a great podcaster. What's going to talk about
hey,
here?
Everybody, during the off season, enjoy some chicken.
Yeah, for real.
I don't know. I was trying to come up with something.
That's good. All right, okay, that's it. All right, thank you so much to all our listeners out there who have tuned in this season. Follow us throughout the year, and until next time, go out and eat yourself some chicken. Every chicken in the room. All right.
There we go.
We're good. We're done.
That was so much